Walk into almost any major Hindu temple today, and you will likely find him, a humble figure, head bowed, standing in quiet submission with his hands folded in prayer. But ancient texts describe a different entity, a colossal apex predator whose wingspan could block out the sun and whose movements generated hurricane-force winds capable of tearing forests from the ground. He possessed enough physical mass to breach the gates of heaven and face the combined armies of the gods. Yet he voluntarily spent an eternity as a servant. To understand why a cosmic conqueror would choose to bow, we have to look at how he was born. His story reveals a specific tension in ancient mythology, the difference between raw dominance and the weight of a righteous duty. The timeline starts in a deep mythological past, with sage Kashapa, the father of many earthly creatures. He had two fiercely competitive wives, Kadru, the mother of serpents, and Vinata, the mother of birds. The two wives made a wager over the color of a divine horse's tail. Kadru rigged the bet, commanding her black snake children to wrap themselves around the horse's white tail to create an illusion. Vinata lost, and by the rules of their agreement, she was forced into a life of slavery under the snakes. When Vinata's final egg finally hatched, Garuda emerged. The texts say his initial form was so blindingly bright that the nearby serpents had to look away. But his very first experience in the world was watching his mother taking orders as a subjugated slave. Garuda demanded to know the price for her freedom. The serpents gave him an impossible ransom. He had to bring them the Amrit, the Nectar of Immortality. The Amrit was held in the celestial realms, heavily fortified and guarded by the gods. Garuda agreed immediately. He was launching the greatest heist in cosmic history, not for power, but to end his mother's humiliation. As Garuda launched himself toward the sky, the sheer kinetic force of his takeoff caused rivers to tremble and massive trees to snap. In seconds, he cleared the clouds and approached the outer defenses of the celestial realm. The first barrier was a towering wall of celestial fire, meant to incinerate intruders. Garuda expanded his wingspan to block the sky, created a massive vacuum with a single flap, and snuffed out the flames. He blew past demonic guards stationed on floating islands, throwing them into the celestial sea. When the divine army mobilized and fired thousands of lightning-infused arrows, Garuda's wind currents deflected the barrage completely. Heaven's entire defensive infrastructure was failing. The magic and weaponry of the gods were mathematically useless against a creature whose velocity and physical mass were absolute. Only one entity stood between Garuda and the nectar: Indra, the king of gods and commander of storms. Seeing his army decimated, Indra leveled his ultimate weapon, the Vajra thunderbolt, and scored a direct hit on the giant bird. The impact produced 0 damage. Garuda didn't even flinch. But recognizing that the weapon was forged by a divine sage, he voluntarily shed a single feather, choosing to honor the creator's craftsmanship rather than rely on his own invulnerability. Shrinking his massive frame, Garuda darted through a final perimeter of spinning razor chakras, locked his talons onto the vessel of Amrit, and immediately banked back toward Earth. He held the prize. A single creature had outmaneuvered the collective power of the heavens to secure his objective. But halfway through his descent, the hurricane winds vanished. The sky went completely still. Garuda halted midair. Floating in his path was Lord Vishnu, the supreme preserver of cosmic balance. Vishnu looked at the bird and saw something unexpected. Garuda was holding a jar of immortality. He had fought a war for it. Yet he hadn't taken a single drop for himself. This absolute selflessness is the definition of bhakti, or supreme devotion. Deeply moved, Vishnu offered Garuda a boon, granting him the gift of eternal life without ever needing to drink the nectar. Garuda then made a request. He wanted a position physically higher than Vishnu, so Vishnu agreed to place him atop his divine flag. In return, Garuda offered himself as Vishnu's eternal Vahana, his personal mount and protector. Garuda traded total sovereignty for a banner. He found a greater authority than raw dominance, the choice to place his strength at the service of the cosmic order. Back on Earth, Garuda landed and set the vessel of Amrit in front of the waiting snakes. His end of the bargain was complete, and Vinata was instantly freed. But Garuda was tactical. He told the greedy serpents that to truly honor the nectar, they should take a purifying river bath before drinking. The moment the snakes slithered away, Indra dove in the clouds and snatched the vessel back to heaven. When the snakes returned to find the nectar gone, they frantically licked the sharp grass where the pot had been resting. The sharp blades sliced their tongues in half. This is why serpents have forked tongues today, and it cemented the eternal enmity between eagles and snakes. Garuda's devotion elevated him from a mythic bird to a divine protector. It is why you will find his statues mounted high on the spires and gates of ancient temples all over the world, standing guard. He remains the ultimate symbol of Dharma. He represents the potential of a warrior who weaponizes their strength to liberate others.